All right, let's just jump right into this. Welcome to a brand new explainer. Today, we're unpacking a seriously mind-bending text by Zhu Feng titled, "One Cannot Become a Buddha While Clinging to Form." And honestly, this is a deep dive into spiritual philosophy that is going to challenge pretty much everything we think we know about seeking truth, practicing religion, and achieving enlightenment. We are exploring this profound and kind of radical idea that the very things we actively do to reach spiritual liberation might actually be the exact things preventing it. It's a text packed with paradoxes, and it's definitely going to force you to totally re-examine how you view the world.
We're actually skipping a traditional intro today because we need to hit the ground running with this massive concept from the Diamond Sutra. This is a foundational Buddhist text, and it serves as the absolute anchor for everything we're talking about today. All forms are illusory. If one sees all forms as non-forms, one sees the Tathagata. Now, the Tathagata, of course, refers to the Buddha or the ultimate truth. The text we're analyzing uses this ancient piece of wisdom as a launching pad to just completely dismantle our modern ideas of spiritual practice.
So, think about the core paradox of this entire explainer for a second. What if everything you're doing to find enlightenment is actually pushing it further away? We humans, well, we absolutely love our structures, right? We want rules, we want actionable steps, we want a nice little checklist for self-improvement. But this text argues that our active efforts to be spiritual, the rules we follow, the labels we adopt, might actually be our biggest trap. It's like the harder we try to grasp enlightenment, the faster it slips right through our fingers. And to understand why that happens, we first need to really nail down what the text means by one specific word.
That word is form, or xiang in Chinese. In this text, the concept of form is incredibly broad. It's not just physical objects. Yes, sure, it includes everything perceived by our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. But crucially, the text expands this to include the invisible cages we build around ourselves. Form is literally anything that binds the mind, imprisons the soul, restricts human freedom, or obstructs the liberation of the spirit. And this is where it makes a brilliant leap from the physical to the philosophical. We interact with sensory forms every single day, obviously. But what about societal forms? The text explicitly points out that morality, ideologies, constitutions, laws, and religious doctrines, they are all forms too. They're constructs. They are frameworks we've invented to organize life. But according to this philosophy, they are also rigid structures that completely imprison the soul.
Bottom line, the crucial point here is that clinging to any of these forms completely obstructs true spiritual liberation. Whether you're attached to a physical desire or, and this is the tricky part, you are deeply attached to a specific moral code or religious doctrine, the result is exactly the same. As long as you hold on to these concepts, as long as you let these frameworks dictate your mind, the text states very clearly that you cannot see the Tathagata, you cannot become a Buddha. Which brings us to our first main section, the traps on the path, and the deviant paths to avoid.
So if forms are obstacles, what does that mean for people who are actively trying to be spiritual right now? Well, brace yourself, because you might find this a bit shocking. The very foundations of almost every organized religion are what this text calls deviant paths. Actively engaging in traditional practices, things like building temples, crafting statues, burning incense, or establishing hierarchies, are explicitly listed as traps. Creating sects or schools? Yep, that's a trap. Even declaring strict dietary and lifestyle taboos. Like if someone says that smoking, drinking, eating meat, or having sex prevents you from becoming a Buddha, the text argues that this too is just another attachment to form. It shackles the mind. Even claiming to teach the Dharma is seen as a trap, because true Dharma just cannot be rigidly structured. Now, I'm just impartially breaking down the text here, but you have to admit, it is a fascinating and totally radical perspective on traditional practice.
To really hammer this home, the text reminds us of this incredibly powerful quote. If one seeks me through form or through sound, one is walking a deviant path. It's directly telling us that seeking ultimate truth through sensory experiences, grand architecture, or rigid vocalized rituals is completely missing the point. It's like you're looking for something totally formless inside a tiny box made of forms.
Okay, so that leads us to Section 2, Entering Hundun, the state of formlessness. If all our rituals and rules are traps, what exactly is the goal here? The text describes the ultimate state of formlessness as Hundun. This is defined as a state of primordial oneness and undifferentiated simplicity. It is a deeply poetic, totally mind-expanding concept.
Just imagine a state of being where the universe is stripped of all the arbitrary boundaries, labels, and categories that we human beings love to place upon it.
In Hundun, all the dualities we rely on to navigate society completely collapse into oneness. Let's walk through this because it's pretty wild. Our human minds constantly need to separate things to understand them, right? We separate heaven and earth, above and below. But in Hundun, they're indistinguishable. There's no direction. We separate past and future, birth and death. In Hundun, there is no beginning or end, there's only eternity. Even profound heavy concepts like good and evil, truth and falsehood, love and hate, the text argues that in this ultimate state, all of these just merge into one. There's no duality, just utter stillness.
But wait a second, you might be thinking, is formlessness just some giant, dark, empty void? No way, not at all. Instead of an empty void, the text describes formlessness as leaving behind something profoundly beautiful. It leaves only structure. It leaves the living flow of the Tao. It leaves the living spirit and a pure state of resonance and response. It's a vibrant, completely flowing existence. It's just one that absolutely refuses to be categorized by human language.
And there's this beautiful analogy in the text that perfectly summarizes why clinging to structures always fails. It says, seeking the Buddha through form is like trying to catch the moon in water. I mean, it perfectly captures the futility of what we do. You can see the reflection of enlightenment in our moral codes, in our stunning temples, and in our rituals. But if you actually reach into the water to grab it, you just disturb the surface. You can never, ever actually grasp the moon down there. You have to let go of the reflection to look up at the real thing.
Which brings us right into Section 3, the final paradox. This is where it completely undercuts the path.
Let's bring this all together with the ultimate philosophical twist. The author, Xu notes that these words are spoken for those walking the supreme path, but then he immediately pulls the rug out from under his own phrasing. He says, what is called the supreme path is not supreme. It is merely a convenient term. Even giving this profound philosophy a grand, impressive label is an illusion. It's a mere trick of language. It's a temporary tool we use simply because, well, we need words to communicate.
And this right here is the real kicker. What I have just said is neither right nor wrong. The incredible irony of this whole explainer is that by agreeing or disagreeing with the very concepts presented here, you are forming an attachment. If you're sitting there right now saying, yes, this makes perfect sense, down with rules, you've literally fallen into a trap. If you say, no, this is complete nonsense, we need temples and laws, you are also caught in a trap. Because the very acts of validating or invalidating are both, you guessed it, attachments to form.
And don't think you can just cheat the system by striving for nothingness either. True formlessness is absolutely not the same as a form of emptiness. If you sit there and actively cling to the notion of being empty, the text argues that you are still attached. You've merely fallen into another extreme. Clinging to emptiness is just another form of attachment. You still haven't reached true formlessness.
So here's the core paradox we've been unpacking today. True liberation is found only when we completely, utterly let go of the need for a fixed structure. Dharma, the universal truth or law, has no fixed dharma. Therefore, no dharma is true dharma. Form has no fixed form. Formlessness is true form. It is the ultimate letting go of the human desire to categorize, label, and control reality.
I'm going to leave you with this one thought to chew on. The text states that there aren't just 84,000 Dharma doors, there are actually infinite doors. But if you cling to any single door, you will find no door. Take a moment today to reflect on your own invisible cages, the rules, the ideologies, the labels you've attached to yourself. The text promises that if you can actually reach that state of formlessness, then everywhere is a door and everything is a door. So knowing that the cage is an illusion, which door will you choose to step through? Thanks for joining me on this explainer today. Until next time, keep questioning the forms around you.